Where are we now? Needless to say, she doesn't work for them now. Well, we can't know. But I can tell you that in 2014, the EU's accounts failed to properly account for 4.4% of their through-flow income. Now, the EU budget, the European Union budget, is 42.5 billion euros in 2014. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to quote from the Times, 10th of November 2015. More than 133.6 billion euros of European Union budget payments last year were affected by material error. The European Court of Auditors fails to give the EU budget a clean bill of health for the 21st year running. The Times, 10th of November 2015. The European Court of Auditors had asked the following questions: whether the EU received income and made payments in line with relevant rules and regulations. Income passed with flying colours. Spending did not. Is it legal? I don't think Miss Andreasen thought so when she was there. I'm not a lawyer. Is a system fit for purpose? Well, I don't think Miss Andreasen thought so, I don't think she thinks so, and I'm not an accountant. This is your money. 2 countries paying more than they receive from the EU. Germany, the biggest contributor, and the UK. That's it. Along the bottom there, that's where you can find this stuff, the HTTPS. Check it out for yourself. Don't believe me. Assume I'm lying. Assume I'm a spy for Putin or something. An alien from another planet. Whatever particular conspiracy theory grabs your appeal. So this has been going on for 21 years. 133.6 billion euros. Affected by material error. That's the European Union's own auditors. That's their words. The auditors that the EU didn't sack. The auditors that the EU didn't bug their phones. The auditors the EU didn't suspend. The auditors the EU didn't put into disciplinary proceedings. And they're still not happy. I repeat, this is your money, money collected from people all over Europe. Okay, part 3. Border controls the flow of people. Now, we could talk about the flow of money, we could talk about the flow of goods and services, but really we've already dealt with that, and frankly, we don't need it. Now let's start off with the hot topic. Terrorism. You're not going to like this. I'm going to be speaking economically, not morally, not anything like that. It's just economics. Terrorism is only significant because it discourages investment. Where terrorism occurs, investment doesn't happen. Egypt is an example. It also discourages tourism. Egypt is an example, but there's also Tunisia, Middle East. Fancy a holiday in Syria, do you? Now this bit really is going to sound horrible. Let's say people die because of terrorism. 1 person, no economic effect. 10 people, no economic effect. 100 people, no economic effect. 1,000 people, no economic effect. Investment, tourism, yes. 1,000 people, no. It's horrible, but it is true. The national economy will not suffer. Investors shy away, tourists shy away, that's the loss. Okay, terrorism dealt with. That's all you need to think about. Okay, movement of people. We're talking numbers to begin with. Let's say 1 million people move into the UK in 1 year, which has happened. That's a lot of houses and a lot of extra jobs that are needed. Okay, let's examine how this works. Let's say a migrant worker comes to Birmingham. He or she pays tax, national insurance, and he or she pays tax, indirect tax, on what he or she purchases. Surely he or she is contributing to the economy, not necessarily. Let's assume that this immigrant is displacing an employee or someone who's self-employed who is already here, and so that person is now unemployed, so they're no longer paying income tax, national insurance, and their purchasing is reducing their payment of indirect taxes. All that's happened is the person who's come in is taking the money from that person and spending it. It's the same money. Same direct tax, same income tax, same national insurance, same indirect tax, more or less. But we haven't finished yet, so we're at level playing field. No, we're not, because the unemployed person is now in receipt of unemployment benefit. The economy just shrank. Multiply that by 1 million. Okay, say 500,000. Only 500,000 have displaced UK workers. Okay, only 250,000 have displaced UK citizens. You can't blame the migrant. You can earn more per hour here than they can at home. That's why they're here. The migrant is not to blame. Okay, what about the Brits who've retired to the EU, taking their pensions there? Or they work there? This is not about fairness. This is not about even swaps. We've got 2 million of yours, you've got 2 million of ours. It's all even, pal. No, I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. It's irrelevant. The issue is, has the migrant who's come in contributed to the UK gross domestic product, gross national product, or have they displaced a UK citizen who is now out of work, no matter what kind it is? What are the figures? Well, there aren't any. In fact, the government has been very carefully covering up the real scale of migration. National insurance numbers released have indicated that we have been lied to. There's a surprise by government about the extent of migration. It's the 26th of May 2016, and this morning someone pointed out that in order to keep up with the rate of migration into this country by perfectly honest, decent people, we need to build a city of the size of Birmingham every 2 years. I'll leave you to decide whether you think that's a sustainable situation. If you believe it is, fine. Go down the hole with Alice. Okay. It's not sustainable. Sorry. An illustration. Let's take the hilarious hypothesis, the ludicrous hypothesis, which is a lie, because it isn't. Rubbing my nose is a lie. This is absolutely not true. The UK's gross national product, gross domestic product, is £70 million. Let's say that's the lie. That's the lie. Okay, so that's £1 per person living here. Okay, so that's the national income, £1 per person. Thank goodness that's not true. Okay, so that's the beginning of the financial year. At the end of the financial year, so April the 6th to April the 6th, 1 million people come in. But the gross national product, the gross domestic product, the GNP, the GDP, is still 70 million. So what's the gross national product per person? It was £1. What is it now? It's 98 pence. In real terms, the per person economy has shrunk. It's smaller. A really good overview of this is James Lovelock. I'll hold it up, but it'll come up on your screen. It's called The Vanishing Face of Gaia. If you want a quick read, just go to chapter 3, Consequences and Survival. the word depressing comes to mind. There's a kind of slightly mystical flavour to it. Gaia, the goddess and all that sort of stuff. Does he really believe that? Right. Economically, Lovelock treats the planet as a form of economic currency. The planet is, if you like, a sum total of our global economic wealth. The planet isn't a great big coin, big spherical coin made of planet. Not paper money, fiat money, fountain pen money, bank created money. The sum total, the real thing. It's not infinite. That's basic economic theory. It's finite. Infinite wants, finite resources. In chapter 3, Lovelock talks about defending not democracy, but survival. He works on an estimate of a UK population of 100 million, and frankly worries about how we can feed them. So he talks about defending our borders from migrants searching for somewhere to escape global warming. Nothing wrong with that. Why shouldn't they try to survive? Now, if global warming is correct, then Lovelock is correct. You choose. I recommend you read it. For information, you don't have to believe him. You don't have to believe in global warming. But if he's correct, that's because it's correct. How are we going to feed 100 million people? How are we going to feed all those people? Back to numbers. Back to migration. I used to be a teacher, had a department for a lot of years, too many. Let's suppose you have a legal maximum class size, which we do. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, which it isn't, it's 30. Okay? So in every period, each classroom is full when there are 30. Let us suppose that you've got 5 classrooms for that year, 5 classes, and you've got 5 30s. One extra child arrives in that year. Theoretically, you need an extra classroom, extra teacher. What really happens? They fit them in, or they refuse them entry. So it doesn't work like that. So don't worry. Unless, of course, you're trying to get your child in that school. What's my illustration for? Infrastructure. Immigration equals more houses to build. Effect: increased house prices. Why? Land price increases. Why? Because an increase in demand for land increases the cost of land. The amount of land on the island is finite. You can only go on, keep building until there's no room left. Heaven forfend that. More houses required, house prices rise, land prices rise, house prices rise. Immigration equals more doctors, teachers, etc., etc., etc. Immigration means more schools, more hospitals. And as you build your houses, you build your schools, you build your hospitals, you have to build your roads. The consequence? Less fields, less crops. More is cost. More is cost. And what's cost? Farmland. Plus gross domestic product being spent on houses, hospitals that you didn't know you needed. It isn't just that they're coming in. It isn't just that people are coming in. It's that we don't know how many.